Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all to today's New Bangladesh. Here, as usual, we shall discuss new people, new citizens, new culture, new economy, new policies, new science, new education, overall, new Bangladesh. Today, in our studio, as our guest present, Dr. Ahmed Abidur Razzaque Khan. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you?
Thank you, sir. We are really happy to get you among us today, sir. Please tell us about you in brief, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Ahmed Abidur Razzaque Khan. I go by Ahmed Abid. So I did a PhD in Human Rights Society and Multi-Level Governance, which is under the cluster of migration and mental health. I did my PhD from Western Sydney University, but before I did another master's, my second master's on human rights and social development from the Mahidol University, Thailand. Basically, I'm a development practitioner. I work around Asia and Pacific, and I was been trained in Europe and Asia. I started my career as a journalist in 1998 as a reporter of Daily Banglarmani. And in the year of 2000, I was been treated badly by the group of people, fanatics people, while I was covering an event in Sylhet in front of SAST, Modena Market. So that event turned my career 360 degree, and I ended up in the doctrine of human rights. I was been offered a partial scholarship to study human rights, and that's what made me an academician. I used to say I'm an accidental academic. I have been in this profession full time in Bangladesh for this is my fourth year. I taught already in Asian University for Women as an assistant professor of development studies, and here I am teaching in the Bangladesh University of Liberal Arts, which is ULAB. In addition, I do work with development organization. I work with the funding agencies like Canadian Development Agencies, CEDA, then CEDA. I worked with Plan International. I did work with the World Bank. And previously, when I was studying, when I started, my career started as a cultural activist artist while I was working with different organization, and then I started working on theater, group theater movement and film society movements, and we developed different cultural arena. I was the general secretary of Dhaka Little Theatre since 1993 to 1998. And later on, I developed different cultural relations, including organizing first human rights film festival in Thailand in the year of, I think, 2007 or 2009. So that's it. I used to say myself a storyteller. So I love to use storytelling pedagogy in my teaching. I love to travel, read books, and meet with the new people and new communities. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. You obtained your PhD from which country, which university, sir?
Western Sydney University Social Science Program, Australia. So I did, although I was been offered the PhD by the Human Rights Center, University of Padua, but I work in Western Sydney University because my supervisors, Dr. Gary Stevens and Dr. Nicole Georgiou, both of them were expert on which area I was working on. In that regard, I would like to take advantage of sharing about my PhD. I did my PhD on undocumented migrant workers and their trafficking and their psychosocial impact. So the title of my PhD was Psychosocial Impact of Undocumented Survivors of Bangladesh. Mostly these are the people of 2015 Andaman crisis victim. So we wanted to take a boat trip to Malaysia for finding job. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, who is our Bhabi?
Oh, my wife is an architect by default. She graduated from Bangladesh Engineering University of Engineering and Technology. Later on, she did a diploma with IHS Netherlands. So she is a practitioner architect. She worked with LGED several years. Now she is trying to do something else, but she is still on practice. She got a small team.
Well, thank you, sir. You are a cultural activist, and Bhabi is an architect, which is deeply related with aesthetics. Well, sir, our today's topic is Bangladeshi culture and its prospect. Well, sir, since we are discussing culture, I would like to ask you a very basic question, sir. What is culture?
Well, according to me and us, culture encompasses the shared beliefs, customs, practices, and social behavior, including values of a group of people or community. So I will stress on the values because all these pose key important words or keywords that creates values of a group of people and nations, and it creates over thousands years. And climate, including mode of production, economic production, impacted on developing cultures.
Well, thank you, sir. In our school level educations, we were taught that culture is the sum total of the transmittable results of living together.
Right.
All right, sir. Well, sir. As regards culture, there is something profoundly related with culture, that is tradition. I actually cannot distinguish culture and tradition. So, what's the difference between culture and tradition, sir?
I think tradition is a
Mhm.
revised or unique version of culture. So when a cultural practice becomes distinguished,
Mhm.
that becomes maybe tradition. Like for example, we used to observe
Mhm.
or we used to join the Pohela Boishakh Halkhatas in our childhood.
Mhm.
But observing Pohela Boishakh, Noboborsho, Bangla Noboborsho in urban cities
Mhm.
becomes a culture nowadays. So we didn't really take the Ilsha, Hilsha and Panta,
Mhm.
but we used to have Panta in our childhood.
Yes.
So that becomes a part of the tradition, maybe in urban culture. That's how it's okay. But tradition,
Mhm.
each communities,
Mhm.
each nations, especially the sectarian groups, create their own tradition. Tradition change.
Mhm.
Like for example, if you see earlier, until 80s, there was not much girls wearing veil and niqabs
Mhm.
in our society. But you see, there is a tradition, maybe coming from the Middle East, because we have a lot of migrant workers culture, a reviving culture of Islamizations.
Mhm.
We now have a tradition of hijab
Mhm.
among the young girls of our society. It was not with us, but it turns to part of our cultural tradition, maybe. It will. Thank you.
Well, I remember my days, my childhood, that it was in late 70s,
Right,
and I used to go to the Ramna Bottomol
right,
in Pohela Boishak with my
right,
elder sisters. But
right.
there are very few people there. I think few hundreds, like three, 400, not more than.
Exactly.
Somewhere from the Dhaka universities, somewhere from Buet,
Hmm.
as you told, some, and some cultural activities activists were there.
Right.
And we people from some families, even in my area in Mogbajar, I marked that maybe 2 3 families used to go there at Ramna Bottomol
Right.
and yeah, used to celebrate Pohela Boishakh. Other even our neighbors, they didn't even know that today is Pohela Boishakh.
Exactly.
Now the Pohela Boishakh is a very big festival in our country, both in urban areas
Urban areas.
and the rural areas.
Right.
So thus we are getting new cultures.
Right.
So culture is nothing constant.
Right. Nothing constant.
Nothing constant. Okay.
A
It is
community
like a river.
like a river. It's like a
It's
flowing river.
flowing like a
Right.
flowing river. Yes,
So
flowing river.
community creates their own
Mhm.
culture according to mood of production, their practices, and their interest.
Okay. So everything is ever changing. I think change is the only permanent,
Right.
including culture.
Right.
Including culture. Well, sir. Now the question is, you see that we are Bangladeshis. We have a independent and sovereign country. Okay.
Right.
We have neighboring countries. Okay, there are some similarities with them. We have neighbors on the east, on the west, but we are not living with them together in one state. Probably we have some distinct culture and traditions,
Exactly.
okay, which makes us to form a new independent and sovereign country.
Right.
So what I understand that culture is a fundamental thing and is very much important for a nation and nation building.
Exactly.
So how our culture can help us in our nation building, please, sir.
Thank you very much. Culture matters. So, see, culture creates new knowledge, and with this new knowledge, a nation and society could create their new technology and new mode of production that could provide space and provide good life, quality life. For example, Japanese people have a habit of complete their work within the deadline, before the deadline. That's a part of culture. So, and then if you say something to a Japanese people that he may say sorry to you at first, that sorry, I have to guess it earlier. I'm sorry as I have given you this much work. So means that it's a kind of politeness. So Japanese people didn't get this politeness as a part of their culture by one day. It comes through their cultural practices over ages. And at the same time, technology, mode of production, like for example, we had to reach culture of weaving muslin next to the riverine in Bikrampur, especially
on the bank of Shitalaka.
Bank of Shitalaka,
Yes.
Next to Kapasia.
Next to Kapasia.
The village is named after Kapasia because of the karpash,
cotton.
So, and we lost.
Yes.
During the time of colonial period, the colonial didn't allow us to go ahead with this craftsmanship for their interest, and we lost that knowledge and technology.
And culture.
Right,
And
culture.
Yes.
So, but during that time, in ancient period, muslin went through the river by the British from Britain to Europe.
Yes.
And that was big, one of the big production mode of earning remittance for the British. So culture becomes a rich tradition which could provide you shelter and also bring you money. The way we have seen the culture, especially post-independence period, is a kind of state-run or some individuals-run, artist-run activity without any production or new knowledge. So state have to subsidize film industry, some artists, singer, dancers, poet. That is not the way of culture in earlier ancient period, because in Chittagong or in Bengal, there is a huge sheep creation or sheep development projects.
Yes.
Next to
in
the
Noakhali also.
Yes.
In Noakhali, Shandip,
next to the Karnapuli and
yes.
Shandip. So, I mean, culture brings new people, and then these Rohingya people were taken to Myanmar, or the other people come to our plantation of tea garden. Culture creates new habits. The post-independence period, Bangladeshi policies or government failed to think or develop a policy about this.
Well, sir, we shall discuss about this point. Before that, I would like to ask you that as regards muslin, even the Egyptian pharaohs used to purchase muslin because there are many mummies were found that wrapped with muslin.
Right.
But it is 5,000 years old. Those mummies are 5,000 years old. That means we had this culture, or we had this tradition very ancient. So, but we have a very rich cultural heritage basically. But later it was destroyed during the colonial people by the British colonizers. How did they do it?
Well, if you see the, I would like to start from the Mughal Empire. So Mughals were the minority who were dealing or ruling over the majority. So one of the criteria of the Mughal Empire that as mass plantation the people could create, they will be owner of the land. So the land distribution policy was unique. But the communication of language, manuscript, even deed was in Persian language. So within the 200 to 300 years of Mughal empires, in Bangla language and culture, we got a lot of Persian languages. Like Ashraf, Atraf,
And
whatever.
near about 10,000 words, Persian words in Bengali.
Right.
Now,
Let me check what had happened during the time of colonial period. To reconstruct a Bengali language, British system appointed a person, William Carey, in college, Fort William College, and they appointed Marathi Brahmins to create Bengali language. So that was really devastating. So what they did, these Brahmin Pandits and William Carey systematically erased all the Persian and Arabic words from the Bangla language. Not only that, the way they created this Bangla language, it was, we call it Sadhu Bhasha, means that maybe purified version, Korea, Khaya, this kind of language didn't really work within our community. And see, this is absent now. In Bangla language, I don't know, well, we were in school, and the SSC, HSC exam, we appeared in Sadhu Bhasha, but didn't work. But when we write our answer in Cholito Bhasha, that means that colloquial, local colloquial, they accepted it. So the development of Bangla language and Bangla culture been systematically disrupted and destroyed through the colonial system. Bengal was not just Bengal, Bangladesh. Bengal was a huge part, and in ancient map, since the before the birth of Christ, Bengal is a remarkable area because of geographical location and its products and its culture. Right. So colonial people, whether the Portuguese or the British, they really divide and rule us, and they created basic divide between the sectarian community in the name of religion, and they created this new culture among us, which is negative culture. We didn't have this culture before, because in a homogeneous community, even ruled by the Mughal people like Akbar, Akbar used to erase conflict by marrying Rajput and their families. So there were more than 13 Rajput families or sect who have developed really peace contract or peace treaty with Akbar, who supported Akbar's regimes. And Akbar developed some new policies for the different communities. So all these practices over time being erased because of the colonial period and structure. And what had happened just after the colonial period, though we got a state, nation state, Pakistan, then in Pakistan, the religion-based states idea didn't work for us. And we go for a language-based nationalism of state. That didn't work for us because we just wanted to mention Bengali language. So how you could mention the Sautal people, the indigenous group of people, how you could mention the other indigenous group who are living in the mountains or other territories, islanders. So we didn't really find foresighted cultural leaders in the last 50 years who could come forward, like in Russian period, after the Russian Revolution, Nazista Skrupskaya or some other people, educationalists, came forward. They lead it. We couldn't find those people yet. But we are hopeful. We at least through the student and people's revelation, we are repeatedly trying to coming up to a people of mass culture. Our liberation was also a mass people's war. We have to admit it.
Well, sir, I would like to ask you that what you mentioned that our culture is very much ancient. The Virgil, the poet, ancient poet Virgil, in his book Georgicus, he mentioned about Bengal, that ancient Bengal,
Right.
Ganga Reddy, and
Ganga Reddy.
yes, and other parts of Bengal. Even it is told that Pythagoras, the famous philosopher and mathematician, he came to Bengal and studied here. And it is reflected in his philosophy. The first philosopher of this world, recorded philosopher of this world, is Kopil. He is
Kopil.
from Jashore,
Right.
from the Kopil Muni village. Okay,
Right.
and his philosophy was Shankho.
Shankho, right.
And
Shankho philosophy.
yeah, Shankho philosophy, and he believed in social equity.
Right.
And later, Gautam Buddha, he is basically he was influenced by Shankho religion, when it is told that each and every living being suffers, and we should get rid of this suffering. That means we should get nirvana.
Nirvana.
In nirvana. And Gautam Buddha was deeply influenced by this philosophy Shankho, and later he introduced the paths of nirvana, eight paths. Well, Gautam Buddha, in today's geography, he was born in Kapila Vastu. Kapila Vastu. Today is Nepal.
Nepal.
Okay, his language was probably Prakrit, Magdi Prakrit.
Magdi Prakrit.
And this Prakrit is what you are telling, that Cholito Bhasha or Cholito
Right,
language,
right.
Prakrit, or the language of the common people.
Language of the mass people,
mass
common
people,
people who are not sectarially Brahmins or upper caste.
Yes, being the prince. Okay, he was the prince of Shakko. That is
Shakko king.
Shakko king. Yes.
All right.
He was the prince. Being the prince, he used to speak the Prakrit language.
Prakrit language.
And probably that's why his philosophy became so popular
Right.
among the general people, common
right.
people,
Right.
common people.
Because language connects.
Yes, and later his philosophy, traveled east, south, east. East, west, south, north. Okay, all the four directions.
All the four
directions. And it is told that it is not Alexander who first conquered the world. It was Gautam Buddha who first conquered the world. And you see, that was military occupation by Alexander.
Right.
But Gautam Buddha's occupation, it was cultural.
Traditional.
Yes, cultural victory. So culture plays a vital role. Vital role. Well, sir. I know our poet, Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore used to travel from Japan to Russia, and each and every place he wrote about his traveling experience. And after visiting Japan, what you told, that he was really charmed by the culture of Japan, the Japanese culture. Later he wrote something about this, that okay, we should develop our culture as well. And what he mentioned, that if we compare education with a piece of diamond, then the luster coming from the diamond, it can be compared with culture.
Exactly.
So what is your opinion about this?
I totally agree with them. So during the time of Rabindranath, Rabindranath is a Brahma. Brahma is a secular culture. Actually, this is culture of the young Muslims. So Brahma people wanted to develop a society where people will be sharing their voices irrespective of caste and creeds. That is an inclusive society. It was very difficult for Rabindranath Tagore during that time to keep this, but most of the Brahmins didn't like him, and they boycotted him. However, the Brahmo culture was directly supported by the Tagores and Tagore's family during his period. And because of that, he went to Europe, and when he learned Mozart and other music, when he learned Tchaikovsky and other music, and he found that the music and culture have a universal language that is politeness, that creates future. And learning that, he became much more polite. He used to send response to any people who used to wrote him later. Any people for his life, whole his life, that was practice. And he bring the values from the Western knowledge to us. And as a part of practice, he set up an university which is Bolpur Shantiniketan, Vishwabharati, Vishwavidyalaya. Because he knows it very well. If you couldn't practice culture and according to the education system, if we could not put it rightly, we will know more in coming future. He
had that first sight.
He could see 100 years after his death. That's what he developed. So, values of culture is education and nurturing the education in the young people. That's what he did in practice. We totally
Education is the very base of culture.
base of
Base of culture. So we need to make reform in education
Right.
first. Well, now you see in our present Bangladesh, in our new Bangladesh, okay, many reform commission has been formed, like police reform commission, media reform commission, the constitution reform commission, but there is no commission for education reform.
education reform.
So
But that's
how
what
do you
we
look at
need.
it? Huh?
That's what we need first. If we couldn't reform our education, so we'll be lag behind. Let me give you an example. I used to talk to the rickshaw puller,
Mhm.
and a rickshaw puller used to send their child to madrasas.
Mhm.
Then I asked him, how do you manage payment of madrasa? He said, sir, I pay 105, 1,500, 105K
Mhm.
per month for my kid.
Mhm.
Within this amount of money, they provide him 3 square meals,
Mhm.
clothes,
Mhm.
and books.
Mhm.
So,
And education.
and education.
Education, yeah.
So, see the 4 tiers
Mhm.
services.
Mhm.
So, madrasa education system so rich
Mhm.
that they could inclusively provide, accommodated a people's children
Mhm.
who is in the lower part of the society economically. See,
Mhm.
have we ever, Professor Solimullah Khan used to mention it, have we ever thought about it? Our primary education is free.
Mhm. Yes, free.
We provide
Mhm.
scholarship
Mhm.
to the students, especially the girls, until 12th class.
Yes, contribution
But-
of Begum Zia.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever, but what I'm saying that they get, but the corrupted system
Mhm.
is differently saying.
Mhm.
One of the rickshaw puller asking me, can you provide me 2,000 taka? I said, can. Because my young daughter enrolled in class 6, 7, we have to pay 2,000 taka
Mhm.
for his enrollment. But I said that scholarship is free there.
Mhm.
The top-down model of state and corruption system
Mhm.
erase this. But it will never happen to madrasa.
Yes.
So, have we ever compared this?
Mhm.
We could not.
Mhm.
In the last 50 years of liberation, we could not liberate our education system from the cosmetics, overload, and brewing all the young men's mind
Mhm.
into exam papers only.
Mhm.
So spoiling all young men's idea
Mhm.
only to the exam papers because they are going for GPA
Yes.
scores.
I face it each and every day when the students ask me, what will be the questions in the exam?
Right.
What will be the questions?
Please give us questions.
Please give us questions like this.
Right.
I tell them practice knowledge first,
Hmm.
then examinations.
Right.
They again and
They
again
don't
because
know.
it is programmed in their
Right.
brain.
So maybe our education system been
Mhm.
overestimated or override or erased these kind of normal practices to use the young man and their critical thinking. So we spoiled our normal education system.
Yes, probably it was done during the British colonial period because before
started
that
from the colonial period.
we had madrasas. I mean, madrasa means a school.
Right.
We had national schools,
National school.
national madrasas like this, which was traditional,
Right.
which was traditional. But they erased it or they destroyed it, and they established their own Western education system here, but not completely Western, but
Right.
something colonial
Colonial origin.
in our country,
Ah.
and that really destroyed our traditional education system
System
and
and knowledge.
damaged
Our
our education system.
Inclusive education system.
Yes.
Because if you know,
Mhm.
in eastern part of this world,
Mhm.
we used to go to our teachers, guru,
Mhm.
and learning snatak,
Mhm.
being graduate,
Mhm.
is always dependent on the relation of the disciples
Mhm.
and the teachers. Guru Mukhi Vidya,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
That whole system have been erased during the colonial system.
Even that Raja Ram Mohan Rai, who was the founder of Brahmo
Right.
belief, okay, he also studied in Madrasa of Patna.
Right.
Okay, and he was a scholar in Farsi language, I think.
Right.
Well, sir, continue, please.
So see, because of the colonial flow of new education system, we left all our traditional system. And there are different traditional schools among the different community. Like Rajput has their physical exercise, their warrior, all traditional dances language. Some of them ended up in Bollywood. Lucky India, somehow they survived. But we couldn't bring this indigenous knowledge, practices, traditional knowledge, practices, and merge with our education, new education system, and which could be inclusive. Eric Schipuller's children couldn't go to the intergarden school. Even Eric Schipuller's children until now couldn't come to the private university setting because of the same barriers, because it's a top-down structural colonial model. You understand? So we have to re-evaluate this, and we have to make our education system inclusive, including we have to make spaces where diversity and skill rather than talent. You see, some people might have talent, but all of them are talented, not people. Like, for example, a community people used to create yogurt or dohidi. So that's their skill. A group of people maybe create some kind of fabric, indigenous people. That's their skill. We need to bring this knowledge to the education system, how to they develop their knowledge and make a massive marketing with the quality, make a international product. Thaksin government during his time in Thailand made a wonderful project. His name is One Tambun, One Product. One village will come up with one product. So some village craftsmen, they could create nice works or handicrafts. Not all the villages could make international standard product, that is called OTOP, one top OTOP. OTOP product becomes bring Thai national products to international market. Now you will find in Thai market, in all area, you will see the sign OTOP product. So we couldn't really accommodate our education system to our inclusivity, and that becomes a barrier that differentiate from our culture and cultural practices. So we are limited with our values of culture like dancing, performing, reciting, writing poet or novels. That's a segment of culture only.
Well, sir, there are false propaganda as well by the colonial peoples that they made us civilized. You know, when Netaji was asked in Germany that the British people made you civilized, and he was astonished, and he told how. We have few thousand years old civilization. You see, in our country, you go to Moinamoti, Kumilla, Moinamoti, there was a very big international university. You go to Bikrampura, Bihar, Jagaddal, Mahasthangarh, all those were ancient universities.
Right.
And the people from many countries, from Asian
Western
countries or Western countries,
they used to visit us.
They studied, the students studied even
right.
here.
In Nalanda as well.
Yes, in Nalanda. So we have great people like Otish Dipankar, Shil Bhadro, and others. So obviously, we have a very rich culture. But what the British people did, they replaced our old and ancient culture and education system by their own.
That's for their own interest.
Yes, for their own interest. To make a really dominated nation, truly dominated nation.
Dominate the whole British colonial India.
and Bengal as well.
Right,
Bengal as well.
Right.
So now we need to change all those, okay?
Right.
Okay. Now, well, sir, as regards culture, as regards tradition, okay, as regards education, I should mention one name in our country. That is our national poet, Kazi Nazrul Islam. Probably he was very much aware of this.
Right.
Or building our own culture and thus to build a new nation. Okay, Chiro Unnato Mamoshir. So please tell us something about our Kazi Nazrul Islam's philosophy, his effort of building culture and others.
Thank you very much. You come to the right point. In the nationhood or the Bengali culture, Kazi Nazrul Islam is the milestone.
Yes.
So he studied all the literature. He can read and write in Farsi, Bengali, and English, and I think
Arabic as well.
Arabic as well.
Arabic,
I
okay.
think, and he studied all the mythology of literature. And during his time, he was moved by the Russian Revolution, because during this time in 18th, 17th century, Bolshevik movement was confident, and Kemal Atatürk, developer of Turkey. So he knows how much have to take culture and create a culture. He was the one of the landmark philosopher of Bengal and visionary. He is the person who talks about the human rights before the birth of 1945 UDHR,
Universal
Declaration of Human Rights,
yes.
or the UN. He says about equal rights of women, men, and also working class people. Because the peasants community of Bengal, who are the maximum community, he represents those. So, and when they used to talk other people in court or normal system, they couldn't use their own colloquial language. You see what kind of words he uses in his poems: colloquial language, general people language. And he was the visionary. He wanted to develop a secular culture, and culture, he developed a culture of resistance against the British colony and colonial ruler. He says, ওই ইংরেজ এ দেশ ছাড়বি কিনা বল, নইলে কিলের চোটে হাড় করিব জল। জেলে বসে যে লোকটা এটা লিখতে পারে। He used to write from his jail. He was been jailed, and British government was in fear of his pen and writing.
তোর বন্ধকারায় আসা মোদের বন্দী হতে নয়, ভয় করতে
he knows well. He went to Palton to study the warfare and war technology, because he knows that without erasing or without this British colonial system, they cannot move. We cannot move and create our new nation and culture. But he didn't take the negative side, the narrow version of Islamization. He take the positive version of Muslim people like Kemal Atatürk. So, and he didn't confine himself only within the Muslim sect and culture. He invited Hindus and other peoples, and he developed an universal culture. His philosophy not yet been studied even in the philosophy departments of our public universities and courses. He was been regarded as a poet only. But what he did, look at him. He married women of non-Muslim community. He developed his own party for Krishak Swaraj party, for making the mass people aware about the politics and their rights. He edited several papers. He becomes producer of the film. He acted in the film. He wrote a lot of songs and earns money. He did everything. He turned every stone which could get access to the general people and make that aware of their rights.
He himself was a singer, as an actor as well. And
he was producer. He was film producer. So, I mean, we are unlucky. We can get only 14 to 20 years of his active life that contribute us. But that's it. So, Nazrul Islam is one of the Garibaldi of our nation culture. We have to start from there.
Even he wrote songs of the snake charmers.
Right.
He went to the villages of snake charmers, okay, and collected songs from there.
None of our cultural people, writers, could see life like him, from lower class to upper class.
Well, sir, as you are involved in filmmaking,
Mm.
I think that a person like Kazi Nazrul Islam, such a talented person, such a genius person, I think he is the only one in this world.
In this
He is,
world,
yes, and he is unparalleled.
unparalleled.
Okay, what do you think? If you make a film on the biography of Kazi Nazrul Islam, will it be world famous?
Exactly,
Mhm.
because his lifestyle, diversity,
Mhm.
his thought, pattern, and philosophy,
Mhm.
and his tragedy of life
Mhm.
make him a unique person of this world. A good filmmaker, if a good filmmaker, and a
Mhm.
well-known filmmaker, could
Mhm.
really work on this project, it will be a very well-cherished film around the world. I don't have any doubt about it. It
Mhm.
could go different film festival like Cannes and other film festival because he is the founder of humanity. He was a cultural activist, and the way
Mhm.
he was been rewarded by our nation as a national poet, it is unique. So I hope someday some famous and really capable filmmaker will work on this project. I don't know, but if it goes on the hand of some people who do not know how to do it, that
Mhm.
can create a problem.
Well, sir, as regards Nazrul Academy, do you think that it is working in full swing? I think that not even all books of Kazi Nazrul Islam is not yet translated into English or in other languages. So, what do you think about this?
There were limitations. I would say the way Nazrul Islam been regarded as a national poet, but in very recent time, just after the 2024 students and mass people movement, he was been declared by the government systematically through the gadget that he is a national poet. The same happens with the Nazrul institution. Although we have institution mechanism there,
Mhm.
we didn't really find the right people, right group of researcher. I think the Bangla Academy, Nazrul institutions, and the Bangla department of the universities, especially South Asian studies departments from other universities abroad, could work together to bring the Nazrul around the world community. Not only his poem and work translating,
Mhm.
it could be good film and other
Mhm.
product, like we used to say content,
Mhm.
not only in English. It could be translated in different
In
languages,
German, in Russian
German,
languages,
Japanese,
Japanese languages,
right, right.
okay, all the international languages, in
Like for
Arabic
example,
as well,
right.
in Persian.
I
Okay.
know there is a scholar, his name is William Rachide, and he was fond of Rabindranath Tagore.
Mhm.
And he translated a lot of work of
Mhm. Rabindranath Tagore.
Nazrul,
Mhm.
no,
Rabindranath
Rabindranath
Tagore.
Tagore. But we couldn't find much Western
Mhm.
scholars, or we couldn't attract them
Mhm.
that will be interested to translate and bring it to the world community of literature
Mhm.
and entertainment, Nazrul's work. So there is a limitation. Maybe this government could take an initiative of it. Nazrul Institute is not only the institute of the government, it's the institute of the mass people, of the general people. So people have to have access,
Mhm.
and they can make a really
Mhm.
Nazrul philosophy based cultural tradition
Mhm.
in Bangladesh, and through that also. Like, for example, if we practice in school harm the nath only,
Mhm.
that will add the value of the children's ability and performance quality. There is no restriction about it, right?
Yes, obviously.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And we could bring this performance in the world community also.
Yes.
There is a Quran recitation program
Mhm.
everywhere.
Yes.
So why there won't be harm the nath recitation program?
Mhm.
And all these written by our famous poet and our national poet, Kazi Nazrul Islam. So without Hamdnath, our traditional Bengali and Islamic culture, there was nothing there.
Mhm.
See?
Uh,
So we have to learn from the other people. You see, I want to add, you see the J-pop,
Mhm.
how the J-pop emerges. The young, interested, nationalized, young people of Japan developed a lot of media content and it becomes a popular culture, J-pop. Same happens with the Korean K-pops, right? So if you want to develop a national popular culture based on your rich cultural element, you have to see the tradition, how it happens in different countries, different nations. Of course, the Japanese settings and Korean settings will not work in Bangladesh, but you have to find the right way how it will work in Bangladesh, Bangladeshi culture and societies.
Well, sir, as regards our leaders and their first sites, you know that Dr. Muhammad Shahidullah, okay, he was the initiator of language movement. Okay, later Shere Bangla A.K. Fazlul Haq, he announced that 21st February is our Mother Language Day, and it is the national holiday. And later he established Bangla Academy to develop our Bangla culture, Bangla literature, and others. So they had obviously they had first sight. But what happened after the liberation war that could not develop our culture to that extent? Even the Bangla Academy is not working in full swing, I think.
Right. I think this is because of the political changes and narrow visioned political leaders who appointed the directors of the academic, not elected. So, mostly the director of these institutions are being appointed by the political governments during that time. So, they didn't know how to really work for the mass people and make it to national level, bring it to the national level. They did work. So, for example, let me say, if Poet Hasan Habib could be the director of the Bangla Academy, what could happen? Meghna parer chele ami meghna parer ne. It could connect to the whole nation, our riverine culture and nice. So these people who were the politicians, they just wanted to bag their people in cultural institutions or the educational institutions like this, which is a part of cultural setting, and that really kills us. Maybe that is one. And also, government couldn't come up with the new policies also. How? I mean, would you be able to put a government official as a director of the academy or academic institutions like this? Or how you could select? You can all obviously find the right people who could be a good administrator at the same time have creative and jealous activities. This has contribution to the nation. So I don't know. I would say, okay, we lost some time, but we still have some time to find the right person and put them right places and develop strategy or policy how to select these people. Like Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, who have been selected or appointed by the Nehru, who built the Indian education system, right? And post-revolution in Russia, Agesta Skrupskaya, they are scholars. They developed a Russian education system. Russian education system was vivid. It brings world scholar in Kiev and whatever thoughtful mind in 80s, 90s and post-millennium, all those are product of Kiev.
It was Lunacharsky, who was the education commissioner in Soviet Union, Lunacharsky.
See, so putting the right people, finding the right people in right place is really important.
Well, in Soviet Union, Lunacharsky was the education commissioner, okay, who introduced a new education system which enlightened the nation. Now, as regards Shilpokala Academy in our country, it was established by our late President Ziaur Rahman. How it is now functioning or working, and how can we develop it?
That's a really great question and good question. I don't know how much I could share. Shilpakala Academy already developed its branches around the country. That's the structural development. So most of them have auditoriums. but it was being used or abused by the former governments and policies. As you know, there are in every institution there were stronghold people who destroyed the natural development of culture. But now we can see there is a scope with this infrastructure of Shilpakala Academy to develop a nationalized culture of this new nation and bring the world community here to see how this new nation could develop. So we need to learn, we need to train, we need to provide space. Those shouldn't be any kind of selective culture they did, it should be inclusive. At this moment, I don't know what is going on because the former DG of Shilpakala Academy, Sayyid Jamil Ahmed, has resigned. There might be some gap, but I hope through the careful selection or careful search, we need to find a director, DG of Shilpakala Academy, who could lead this nation at this moment to bring mass people's culture and really develop this culture, strong culture. We have a lot of artists who are very world level artists and join. We have a lot of content creators who are filmmakers. So we could easily create a revenue-based economy out of our cultural practices. That's what the example is, the Bollywood right now next to our country, India. So until unless these artists, these content creator, poet, knowledge-based community get the right space to get revenue, and Shilpakala Academy to take the right approach to train them and reach them there. It's a culture of thousands community, thousands people, and Bangladesh is thousands rivers land, so it should be like that.
Well, sir. Now, as you mentioned about Rabindranath Tagore, probably he blended the Western culture and our Bengali culture.
Right.
He composed many songs using the Western melodies, okay, and some Western thoughts also he used. Probably Amari Chetana Range Panna Holo Sabuj. It was Getty's philosophy, I think.
Right.
That is okay. Well, and Kazi Nazrul Islam, he blended the Middle Eastern and Persian culture with Bengali culture.
Exactly.
We are taking it positively. At the same time, there is something called cultural aggression. We should stop the cultural aggression. So, what's the difference between this blending and cultural aggression?
Thank you very much. I used to give a course in a general education department that is called globalization. So where I have to teach this cultural imperialism. So what I do, I used to show a song from the Coke studio. And if you see any song from the Coke studio, they take our cultural folk element and they bring the local artists like Boyatis from different areas and they put a young composer like Pritam Hazam. They blend all the tradition and they invest a lot amount of money and that creates a huge view. So these are the kind of cultural imperialism. A company, Coke Studio, what started in first in Pakistan, then in India, and later on in Bangladesh, they don't have any intention to elaborate or develop Bangladeshi culture. But what they are doing, they are mixing Western tradition and fusioning Bangladeshi culture, music by their way with their huge economic investment for their interest. This is cultural. One of the cultural imperialism. If we could not get much good content through the Shilpakala Academy or any other group of companies like earlier ACI or Bengal used to organize music festival, then we'll get lost. Our generation will learn one side of this culture. And they will think the Bangladeshi Boyatis are like this, which is right a prototype version. in the studio. So that's dangerous. That's why we need really proper education. Only education can save us from the cultural imperialism. Lucky us, we do not have much impact of Japanese J-pop or Western culture, but we still have, in the young peoples, we still have Bollywood or Indian cultural impact. We still have J-pop cultural impact. I would say maybe our generation, 90s and millennium, have around more than 90% impact of Bollywood and Indian cultural impact, the sky culture, you see?
Sky culture.
Sky culture. But this Gen Z is a bit different. They are much more interested in J-pop, but there is a gap of 90%. Maybe Shilpakala Academy and government could work on it. They have to create a revenue-based economy, what is called creative economy. And the skilled people are there, government have to take a policy. It won't be only small space like FDC, Film Development Corporation. If government can create their media lab in universities and colleges, they will be able to come up with the good content. Even while I'm giving interview to you in this studio, this is becoming a content and it will go to the virtual reality to connect the people. So good content, good people, in good way serving, could create revenue, at the same time provide us with the new vision and new value that will create new culture.
Well, thank you, sir. Probably I covered all the important points. Anything left, sir?
Well, I can mention a little bit about my work if you like to know.
Yes.
Thank you. I started joining cultural settings, the group theater movement since 80s. Earlier, when I was a student of Dhaka College, I tried with the Communist Party cultural wings, but didn't work for me. Even I tried with some other political parties. So I find that that is not my place. Later on, I moved to group theater movement where I learn responsibilities, meet the deadline, address my work, all these things, and also film society movement. Later on, I became a emerging actor, director, and playwright in 80s. Then I move on because of some accident in my career. I was beaten and narrowly escaped death in the year of 2000 on 26th of March in front of Medina Market while I was covering an event. And I moved, since 2002, I moved outside the country for my education and livelihood. Most of the time I came back and trying to find a job. I couldn't work it out. And because of the COVID, in 2020, I get settled down here. Now I'm working on this international touring theater project through a platform called Locojo Collectives. So we got invitation from a theater company from Sydney. They are organizing their 10th theater film festival called South Asian Theater Mela. And in the history of Bangladesh, we are the only group. We are taking one story-based, one really promising story writer, Faizul Islam, who passed away, who was a former secretary of government of Bangladesh, Khwas Khijirer Sindhu, and we developed this production. We'll do the premiere in Sydney on 24th of July next month. And if we can get visa. Also, I'm leading a group of scholars in next month, August, to an international conference of culture and religion in Poland, Krakow. So these are the couple of projects I'm doing. At the same time, I'm funded by the Ministry of Cultural Affairs of Bangladesh. I'm working on a documentary-based research project on the Manta fisher folk community of the Poland. So these are few projects. I do act, write play since my early careers, and I am creating a platform where young people could come up with their idea and we could produce their product and bring it to the world standard community through this platform of Locojo Collectives. So that's my plan at this moment. So we are working on these projects, Lokojib collectives, for the last 3 years. Now, these years we are doing two massive projects. One is on the Manta Fisher folk communities. It's a research and documentary making project. Another one is the performance, Khwaj Khijiri Sindhu, directed by me and Lucy Tripti Gomez, a national award winning filmmaker, and she is an actress. These two projects. So we need support. We need assistance from the government and non-government organizations. Let's see how could we create new culture and new knowledge and new message from Bangladesh.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Dear viewers, this is all with our today's discussion. I think you enjoyed the discussion. Hope to see you again in our next episode. Assalamu alaikum.